Hello, and welcome to Pisces Moon Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Kate Leonard, and I'm excited to explore the stars with you. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the astrology of August 2nd through August 8th. And it's kind of a weird week, so let's get into it. As always, let me first take a minute to thank you for being here. Thank you for leaving the reviews and for sharing, for telling people about the podcast, and especially for sharing the podcast on your social media. That helps me more than I can even tell you. And yeah, I'm just really grateful for all of you. I truly am. And now we're going to jump right into this weird week. I will do a sign by sign, although, yeah, this one's a little weird. So let's get into it right now. Before I go into the main event, I'll tell you there's not a whole lot of other stuff going on, and all of it is going on the 6th. All right, so on August 6th, we have Venus crossing into home sign Libra. So this is really good. Venus is the queen on her throne when she is in Libra and she's at her best. So expect to be looking for is not really the thing. Expect for issues of fairness and balance and, just that wonderful feeling of wanting everybody to be okay. Relationships should be going through, a pretty good time. Look and see where Libra is in your chart. But this is just a time when, let's all be wonderful and have a group hug. So there's kind of that kind of thing going on. Also on the 6th, we've got the Sun trine Saturn. This is pretty much what I was talking about last week in a different way, but kind of what I was talking about, where we've got the sun shining light on where we need to rebuild our structures in our life or reset our boundaries, that kind of thing, because Saturn is retrograde. Okay. And then we've got Mercury on the same day, August 6th. That's the big day this week. We've got Mercury coming out of shadow. So that is a really good thing because I've talked to a lot of clients, a lot of my friends, myself included in all of this. It was one kind of tough Mercury retrograde. And I don't think that was only to do with the Mercury retrograde, but also just all the other really big things going on in the sky while Mercury was retrograding. So fortunately, he's out of shadow. That means communication, travel, contracts, all of that kind of stuff, business deals should now be moving forward after all the rewords, redoing, revising, rethinking that have gone on for the past couple of weeks. So that's kind of it. That's all that's going on. We have a lot of other things still going on, but those are the biggies for the week, except for what I'm going to talk about, which is Chiron in Taurus stationing retrograde. I don't usually do a whole lot with Chiron. I'm a Hellenistic astrologer, or what some people call ancient astrology. I'm not that old, okay? So don't call it that. Anyway, the ancient astrologers didn't even have Chiron. So it wasn't part of original astrology. But I do work with him. I don't prioritize him as much as I do the main planets. But I do work with him, and I think this one is really important because him turning retrograde in Taurus, which has to do with security, groundedness, well-being, our sense of comfort and safety, all of that kind of thing. Him going retrograde in that sign, I think, is compatible with some of the other stuff I've been talking about, like the need to rebuild structures and all of that. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and listen to the last couple of episodes. But we've got a lot going on that is saying we need to rebuild our foundations. We need to rebuild our structures. We need to examine our boundaries, all of that. Yeah. And now we've got Chiron going retrograde. So first, let's clarify what Chiron is. I always assume that most people know, so I'm getting ahead of myself here. Sorry about that. Chiron is woundedness. It's trauma. Generally, it's early childhood trauma, but not always. So, Chiron going retrograde in fixed Earth Taurus is going to bring up for us, I think, old wounds, old trauma, all of that old damage that's been done in areas that made us feel unsafe, like we didn't have security and stability. This could go back all the way to childhood if those were issues that came up for you. This could be other times of life as well, but it is going to be bringing up old stuff in the form of memory, possibly meeting people from your past, or if you're still in contact with people who caused the trauma, like family and stuff like that, it could be that interactions with them are forcing you to remember and just sort of re-examine how you've dealt with those traumas. But Chiron is the wounded healer. So we don't just do this so that we're tortured and miserable. We go through these experiences with Chiron so that we can go into deeper healing. Okay. And that's why I thought it was sort of important to talk about this while we've got that Saturn retrograde and all of that, because I do think these two connect. Saturn is telling us we have to re-examine our boundaries, right? And now we're being told we need to go back and look at how we've dealt with some of the early traumas in our life and what? Heal from them, grow beyond them, heal at a deeper level than we have before this, right? And I do think that that might have something to do with setting clearer boundaries and rebuilding our own foundation. Remember, Saturn's in Aries, the individual. Chiron is actually going to be retrograding into Aries, where he's going to finish up his retrograde. So you see, this story is connected. There is something very connected here. Rebuilding the foundation and security that we need that may be connected to that sense that we didn't get that from other people in our lives, from friends, family, whoever it is. It's going to be different for everyone. All right. So let me give you some dates because this is slow moving. It's not like we're just going to go through this week and then poof, our traumas are all healed and we've got a foundation. Not at all. I kind of wish it were true, but that is not how it's going to play out. So Chiron is going to retrograde back into Aries on September 18th. Then he's going to turn direct in Aries on January 6, 2027. And he's going to go back into Taurus, going direct now on April 14th. Okay. So it's this retrograde time that we are going to be revisiting those old traumas and wounds. And I believe creating new foundation for ourselves that other people maybe denied us, couldn't give us, threatened, whatever. And then as Chiron moves forward, we're going to grow and emerge as kind of our new, more deeply healed selves, if that makes sense. Because like I said, Chiron is not only trauma and woundedness, Chiron is the wounded healer. So we do come out of this okay. It's just that it can be a little bit like poking on bruises while we're going through it. So, with all of that said, I hope that was clear. And I don't want people to be afraid of this because this is about healing. Don't think of it as being stuck in trauma. It's quite the opposite, all right? And that Aries connection actually makes me really happy because it means we heal ourselves and we create the foundation that we need. You know, the beautiful thing about that is nobody can take it away from you, right? So I don't want this to sound scary, but on the other hand, there could be a little bit of poking the bruises, all right? So let's get into the sign by sign. As always, listen to your rising sign. That is who you are, and it's going to be most accurate. If you don't know it, listen to your sun sign if you're born during the day, your moon sign if you're born at night. And for the most comprehensive understanding of the energy this week, listen to all three. All right, so let's get into Aries. And I'm only going to be talking in this episode about Chiron retrograde in Taurus, okay? So Aries, for you, this is happening in your second house of money. So this could be healing trauma, fear around areas of lack or not having enough or money insecurity, that kind of thing. So this may come from some period in your life where you were feeling poor or like there was lack in your family or your upbringing or something like that. But some kind of trauma around not having enough to be safe and secure and all of that. So it's going to be healing money issues, all right? Taurus, for you, this is your first house. So this is healing your sense of being enough, your sense of being who you need to be to keep yourself safe. This could come from a background of being told you're not enough, being told you're not good enough, not worthy, all of that kind of stuff, right? So this is really about healing self-image and learning to trust yourself, learning to be grounded in yourself. It's very, very deep for you, Taurus. All right, Gemini, this is happening in your 12th house of seclusion, isolation, mental health, all of that kind of thing. So for you, this might be legitimate mental health issues coming back up that you need to deal with, but more likely, this is going to have to do with feeling alone, feeling left out, feeling separate, those kinds of issues. You may have even experienced in your life like fear of being alone, where you've got this sense that you've been abandoned or isolated or something like that, and you need to be able to heal that old trauma so that alone time is just sort of a beautiful, grounded sense of, yeah, I'm with my favorite person, I'm with me, right? As opposed to feeling like you've been rejected or isolated. Cancer, this is happening in your 11th house of friends, group identity. This is your tribe. So this could definitely have to do with trauma around friendship, friendships not going well, betrayals, feeling left out of the group. But this is most likely going to be betrayal, right? Of some kind, of friend or friends who really, really hurt you and did damage and made you feel unsafe in groups. You may actually since then have sort of stayed out of groups. I mean, you may be one of those people who doesn't have a lot of friends because it doesn't feel safe to. And those are going to be the issues you're working on so that you can move forward and know that choosing the right people to be in your tribe, you will be safe and they will be part of your safety net. So Leo, this is happening in your 10th house of career or public persona if you're someone who doesn't work, doesn't have a career. But for most of you, this is going to be career. So this could really be that you feel like you've been like you're not good enough, like you're in a job that's not stable. You don't feel secure. You feel like it could be snatched away from you at any time, something like that. But this could also, if we think about it as like public persona, this could be a sense that I don't want to be too public. I've been hurt when I let myself be seen, kind of thing, right? Like that opens me up to something that makes me feel unsafe. So in either case, whether this is career or just that sense of being seen out in the public, out in the world, this is going to be addressing those issues and working through them so that you can feel more stable and secure when you're in those public spaces. Okay. Virgo, this is interesting for you because it's in your ninth house, which can be higher education, spirituality, foreign travel, and foreign cultures. But with Taurus there, my guess is for you that this is going to have to do with spirituality. So just you may have gone through some kind of religious trauma. You may have wanted to make a change in your spiritual framework. You may have wanted to explore other religions or something like that, but there's trauma or fear that a lot of religions use fear of, all kinds of things, hell, not being accepted by the group anymore, shunning, things like that, all kinds of things in the spiritual world that can make us feel unsafe. And this would be dealing with that so that you can live more authentically and feel secure in whatever spiritual path you choose for yourself. This could also have to do with foreign culture, foreign travels where you just haven't felt, maybe you went on a trip at some point and something bad happened. So it could be working through those issues. But I think for most people, that's going to be spirituality. Libra, this is happening in your eighth house of joint finances, but the eighth house is also fear and trauma. So there's a little bit of a double whammy for you. I think that, it's going to be a somewhat challenging transit for a little while. But I think this is mostly going to have to do with fear of trusting when you have to deal with other people with money. Like, I don't want to invest my money because I got, destroyed on a financial deal I made one time, or my partner is angry because I won't do a joint bank account with him or her because my last partner ripped me off, that kind of thing where it's like just really not trusting anytime you have to combine finances or share finances in any kind of way. Like this could be a time when you're really learning lessons around that and healing trauma around it. And you may come out still really feeling like you are the person you trust most with your own money, but it will be a more empowered sense of that. Okay? Scorpio, this is happening in your seventh house of primary relationships. So this is somebody did me wrong back in the day. I was done wrong and I have a hard time feeling secure. The way that can play out, now be careful because some people don't notice this one, but sometimes this can play out by clinging to relationships that aren't really the best for us. We cling because we want that security, because we've lost security and groundedness in that area before in a very deep way that left trauma. So we cling, or we may push people away because we're not trusting and we're always probing and we're constantly making them prove that they love us and that they're going to stay and all of that. And that constant pressure that they need to prove that they're reliable and stable finally makes them go, you know what, I can't cope anymore and I got to go. And then the trauma deepens, right? So this is going to be healing, something to do with feeling stable in relationships so that you are more grounded and trusting in your primary relationships. All right, Sagittarius, this is happening in your 6th house of day-to-day work and also physical health. So I think for the most part, this is going to be around health issues. I think that if you've had any kind of physical trauma or even the kind of trauma that comes from, I've failed at dieting or I've failed at working out or I'm just kind of, I never stick to anything because Taurus is about stability, right? I never stick to it. I can't succeed. I'm destined to eat a bad diet or have my sugar addiction or have my alcohol or other addiction, right? I can't break it. This is going to be a time from really healing from a lot of physical trauma kind of stuff. Now, the other thing this can be is healing from physical trauma in the sense that you've suffered abuse or some kind of trauma to your body in some way. And yeah, it could be that kind of thing too, where the physical body is involved and you were traumatized in some way. This is generally not sexual abuse, so let me just say that and put that right out there. But it might be like you have in some way been hurt and it traumatized you and left you with fear. And this is going to be a time when you can be more when you can heal so that you're more grounded in your own body and feel more secure. All right, Capricorn, this is happening in your 5th house, which is leisure activities, sex, children, creativity, art, all of that kind of stuff. So you may be facing trauma around sexuality. You could also be facing trauma around issues of having children. So having lost a child, having miscarried, I'm sorry to bring up such tragic things, you guys, but these are the kinds of things that could be causing trauma there, that it'll be a time of healing. And that's what I want to remind everyone. This could also be trauma around your creative life. It's not always the worst of it, right? But you may have artistic trauma where you quit writing or painting or acting or whatever it was because a rejection hit you so hard, and now it's time to heal and get grounded and go back into that creativity, knowing that now you can keep yourself safe. All right, Aquarius. This is happening in home and family. So this is old family trauma. And I'm not going to say a whole lot about it. That's what it is. Childhood trauma around, having to do with your family. So feeling with Taurus being there, it's like an ungroundedness. Like maybe they moved a lot. Maybe you lost a parent. Maybe you were in foster care for a period of time. Whatever it was that made it seem like home wasn't secure. This will be a time that you heal that trauma finally and make your own home now. Remember, 4th house is our early childhood. It's our family of origin, but we also become our own family and have our own home, and you can create your own security there. So yeah, that's what it's going to be for you. And Pisces, this is happening in your 3rd house of siblings, local community, and communication. And so the stuff I said about Aquarius and home and family, this could be around sibling issues, problems that happen probably in childhood, but maybe later, but probably in childhood, that you need to heal from and move beyond. But I think for a lot of people, this is going to have to do with communication. And so this is going to be those people who were told to shut up, you're too stupid to talk, you need to talk less, you talk too much, every time you open your mouth, something stupid comes out of it. Those kind of ugly, ugly messages that shut down our communication because it doesn't feel safe to speak. That stuff? Yeah, that's going to be what you grapple with and what you do deeper healing on so that you can be safe speaking out and being your authentic self and using your real voice and talking the way you want to talk, right? Or communicating in whatever form, the way you want to communicate. Okay, you guys, I'm sorry, this one's heavy, right? It's a heavy one, and I hate to go there. I know it's not fun, but on the other hand, I don't want to just sugarcoat the astrology, right? And ultimately, this is really, really good. It's about healing. It's about moving on. It's about being safe and secure in an area where we weren't before. So it really is good. It might just not be the most fun thing getting there, okay? I wish I could always come through with unicorns and cotton candy. This is not that week, but I do think it's important. I think it's in keeping with the theme of this year. And I do think we all come out just so much better. Yeah. I'm wishing you all the best week. And you know how it goes. Go out and seize the energies of the stars. This is my wish for you always. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.